Video we are talking about percent and fractions, and this is our first video for really getting into unit 9 after the customary quiz that you took. So our learning target today is I can convert between percents and fractions. Please write down the date that you're watching this video. Write down what you already know about this. So you know what percents are, you know what fractions are, and you know what the word convert means. So you have a lot of knowledge about this already. And then we have one vocabulary word today, and that is percent. Percent literally means 1 part in every 100. So pause the video here, get all of that written down, and restart when you're ready to go. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is the word percent. And our vocabulary said that this meant 1 part in every 100. But one of the things that's really nice about the word percent is that it's very literal. So the word per and the word cent, those both have meanings. Per, well, that just means per, like when we use ratios. And then cents, if we think about cents, we know that there's 100 cents in a dollar. We know there's 100 years in a century. Cent just means 100. So the word percent literally means per 100. And if we can remember that, it's going to be a lot easier to solve all of the problems this unit, which is really focused on percents. So for example, right here I have what's called a 100 block. It has 10 blocks wide and it's 10 blocks long. That means it is a 100 block. And if I wanted to use this 100 block to represent, say, 13%, well, 13% literally means 13 per 100. So I could fill this in by filling in 13 of these squares. 10 on the top row, and then 3 on the next. I've now filled in 13%. I also immediately see this is a fraction. This is 13 out of 100. And that is all we have to remember in order to be able to write a percent as a fraction. To write a percent as a fraction, we literally just have to remember that percent means per 100. So for example, 6% is just 6 per 100. The one caveat that I will say, and this has been causing some issues for people, is that you always need to simplify. And it does not matter if the directions don't say simplify. It does not matter if nothing is said at all about simplifying. Leaving an unsimplified fraction in math is like bad grammar in English. If you wouldn't write a paper with the words ain't and y'all and I got no nothing and all of that, then you wouldn't put it in your math. Now, that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with using the words ain't or y'all. I use those words. But it means that when we do academic work, we want to use academic language. And so 6 over 100, there's nothing wrong with it, but it isn't good grammar for an academic paper. So for our academic work, we want to simplify. For 6 and 100, I know those are both divisible by 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3, and 100 divided by 2 is 50. So my final answer is going to be 3 over 50. Any fraction then is going to be the same. So for example, let's do 28%. See if you can pause the video and write 28% as a fraction. Okay, hopefully you've got that. So to check our work, 28%, that will be 28 per 100. I see that I can simplify. So I can simplify by a couple different things. I'm going to simplify by 4. If you simplified by 2, that would also work. You would just want to divide by 2 a second time. So 28 divided by 4 is 7. 100 divided by 4 is 25. So my final answer is 7 over 25. What about if I gave you 130%? See if you can figure out how to write 130% as a fraction, and then pause the video here, do that, and then restart when you're ready to check your work. 130%, just like before, I would do 130 over 100. I want to simplify that, so I would divide by 10. I get 13 over 10. Now 13 over 10 is simplified, but this is an improper fraction. So again, leaving it as an improper fraction, that would be bad grammar. Again, it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with the number 13 over 10. It's just for academic papers, for our academic work, we want to make sure that things have the best grammar possible. So we're going to turn this back into a mixed number. 10 goes into 13 one time, and there are 3 left over. So that's 1 3/10. Okay? That's all we have to do in order to turn a percent into a fraction. So now we need to be able to go the other way. We want to be able to write a fraction as a percent. So let's say that we had the fraction 13 over 25. What we're going to do is we are going to turn this into a percent using a proportion. Our friend the proportion is going to come up all of the time. He's a very, very helpful friend. So 13 over 25, well, I know that percent means per 100. So to turn it to a fraction into a percent, I need to know what 13 over 25 would be out of 100. So 100 is going to go on the bottom, and then whatever goes on the top, that's going to be my percent. So I can just go solve this now, and I'll rewrite it over here. 13 over 25 equals something out of 100. So now I look for my nice relationship. And I see one right here between 25 and 100. 25 times 4 is 100. So up top, I can do 13 times 4. 13 times 4 is 52. That means that my x is 52%, because 52 is what it is out of 100. That out of 100 rule is really, really, really important. And as long as we can remember that, all of these problems become a lot easier. So let's try. What if it was 3/10? See if you can turn 3/10 into a percent on your own, and then afterwards come back and check your work. So just like above, we're turning this into a proportion out of 100. So looking at this here, I see a nice relationship between 10 and 100. It's times 10. So I'll do the same up top, and that gives me 30. So my answer is 30%. Okay? The next example I want to show you, and I just want to show you a few things that can happen, is 47 over 100. For 47 over 100, see if you can turn that into a percent and come back when you're done. So looking at this one, if I want to turn this into a fraction out of 100, I see, well, it's already 100 on the bottom. So I don't even have to do anything. When it's a fraction out of 100, my answer is literally just the top. Percent means per 100. So if I have a fraction out of 100 already, then that top number is my percent. How about if I have something like 1/8? If I want to turn 1/8 into a percent, and I set it up for 100, I see right away I don't have a nice relationship this way. But I do have a nice relationship this way. So looking over here, I need to know what that number is. So I want to go that way. How do I get from 8 to 1? Well, I divide by 8. So I'm going to do 100 divided by 8. And that gives me 12.5. Giving me the answer 12.5%. And that's okay. It is okay for a percent to be a decimal. That's okay. So the last one I'm going to give you, and this is going to be your check to be able to move on to your problems. So for your check, I want you to turn the fraction 1 3/5 into a percent. And to do that, the best way to do that, there's two options. One of them is to just turn this into a improper fraction. Turn this into an improper fraction, and once it's an improper fraction, you'll be able to use a proportion with 100. So turn 1 3/5 improper, then make it a proportion, and then you'll use that as your check to get into the next thing. Please let me know if you have any questions. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great rest of your day.